Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will finally install our Uptime monitoring server. In this case, it is Uptime Kuma. Uptime Kuma is a free and open source monitoring software where you can monitor your websites, your servers. You can monitor anything, even the website changes. So in this tutorial, we will install it via NGINX Proxy Manager, and also we will set up automatic updates so you don't need to take care of the updates. So as always, follow the documentation that I created. As you can see, documentation is up. You can follow step by step and you will be all right. There should be no issues at all. There are also some prerequisites that you will need. First, you will need at least 2 GB server. The provider of choice is up to you, but I highly recommend to use Hetzner because you will get 20 terabytes of monthly traffic and you get access to free DDoS protection and hardware level firewall for really cheap prices. To get started with Hetzner, you can follow my link in the documentation and also in the video description. And also what I recommend to have is a domain in Cloudflare for automatic SSL installation. And yeah, a secured server. Do not install any application when your server is not secured because you risk the data breaches and the malicious actor can get into a server really easily. So follow along this tutorial and deploy your own uptime monitoring service. All right, so first thing that we need to talk is about Uptime Kuma. This is the official GitHub page where you can learn more about all the features that you can have. You can send notifications via Telegram, Discord, Slack, email, SMTP, and you got access to 90 plus of notification services, so you can set up your own notification. Notifications are really good to let you know that the server or a website is down. And as you can see, you can set up a 20 seconds interval. You can also create custom status pages for your customer or for yourself. And basically that's it. It's pretty simple, free and open source. If you like this project, I highly recommend that you donate to this project to keep development up. And yeah. All right, so first we need to deploy our server. As I mentioned before, we will need to have at least 2 GB server. And so in Hetzner, you just add your server. You can choose your data center. Now I go with a CPX 11, which is have 2 CPU cores, 2 GB RAM, and 40 GB of disk space, which is completely enough. IPv6 we disable, we don't need it. Backups, you want to enable backups, and we can name it Uptime Kuma. Okay, so now we will create MBI. So now we have our server. What we now need to do is to set up Firewall, as always. So for port SSH, you want to whitelist your own home static IP. If you don't have a static IP at home, I highly recommend you deploy the Mistborn VPN server, which will grant you dedicated IP. If you don't know how you can do it, you can check the link in the description. There is a complete tutorial how you can deploy your own VPN server. So I'm going to whitelist my own IP address, TCP22, that's fine. And now we will add our IP address also for NGINX Proxy Manager admin. And in this case, it is protocol TCP and port 81. NGINX Proxy Manager is always accessible through port 81. Another rule, what we need to do is to basically allow all HTTP or HTTP requests, but if you have your IP, your static IP, you can whitelist on yours if you don't want to share the status pages with your customers. So I'm going to do HTTPS, any port 80, 443, and I think that's it. We can name it Uptime, apply to server, Uptime Kuma, click create firewall. Okay, now we have our server. We copy the IP address. We will move to our terminal. I highly recommend using the Terminus for everything, because it's easy to set up. It will store all of your SSH key and you don't have to worry about basically anything. So we go new host, address, Uptime tutorial, and we can click connect, replace. Perfect. And we are in. And for every server, you need to secure it. So follow my guide. You will need to create your local user. You will need to install Docker, and also to enable automatic security updates. So follow my guide. You can secure your server easily. Okay, so we're gonna add our root password. Su. Nope. PSW. Now we have our root password. So now we will add our local user, add user, vn toots, confirm password twice. Skip this. Now we will need to add our user to the sudo group. So user mode ag sudo vn toots, and follow the guide so we can do it rest of it. So we will continue once everything is done. All the security features and recommendations are already applied, and now we can start installing our Docker packages. So let me move to the browser. As you can see, Docker Engine, you need to visit the official installation guide, and you need to do from step 1 to step 3. So you just copy and paste every command in the terminal, and you will be good to go. This password, and continue for every command that the Docker says to do. Docker is now installed, and what I recommend to do is to add your local user to the Docker group, so you don't need to type sudo if you want to use and communicate with Docker. So how to do it? Again, you type sudo user mode ag. Now you specify group Docker and your username. And now you just type sudo reboot. Once your server is rebooted, connect back, and now we can start with the installation of our services. So first, what I recommend to do is to create your Docker folder. So you go mkdir docker. Now you go to the Docker folder and you create folder for those 3 services that we will use in this tutorial. So it will be mkdir npm for NGINX Proxy Manager. Another folder will be for Uptime Kuma. So we just name it Uptime. And third will be folder for automatic update service Watchtower. So mkdir Watchtower. Now in the npm folder, we will need to create 2 subfolders for data and for SSL certificates. So navigate to the npm folder, cd npm, and again create those 2 folders, mkdir data, mkdir SSL. And now when you check, we got those 2 folders, data and SSL. So now we can, in our npm folder, we will create our Docker Compose installation file. So it will be nano docker compose.yaml. And now you will need to copy the installation script from the documentation for the NGINX Proxy Manager. You just copy it, move back to the terminal, you paste it, and here you will need to change to your local path. So we already created our user, so which is vn puts docker npm data, and this folder will be mounted to npm data in Docker. And last thing, we need to change folder for SSL /docker npm SSL. Control O and enter to confirm, Control X to exit. Oh, we enter to docker npm, perfect. And now we need to start our container. So we go docker compose up d, and it will pull the image and start the image. To check if the container is running, you just type docker ps, and as you can see, our proxy is up. So now we will need to set up our account. In order to do that, you will need to copy your server IP. Let's move back to the browser. You copy the IP address, you paste it, and you go port 81. Continue. And first you will need to enter the default, which is admin@example.com, and password is change me. Never save passwords, never. You can name your full name Simon, nickname Webnestify. We're gonna webnestify.cloud. Save. Your current password is change me. And I recommend to generate at least 128 characters password. I think npm can only do 64, so 64 characters password, which is really strong and secure. Click save. And now we have our Proxy Manager frontend, where you will store all the SSL certificates and your proxy hosts. In order to set up npm on the SSL, you will need to also add your host, but I don't like to have npm on SSL on port 443 when the server is open to public. So I always whitelist port 81 to my dedicated IP, so only me can connect to this. Okay, so we have now a Proxy Manager installed. We can now move with installation of Uptime Kuma. So you copy this into your clipboard and you navigate back to the terminal. Now we move a folder back and we create a new folder for, actually we have it, so we just now navigate to the uptime. And here again, nano docker compose.yaml. You paste your configuration file, and also here you need to change to the local path, home and toots. Port 3001 is fine because on the server I don't have any containers, so we can use it. If you have any service running on this port, you will need to change it. And that's it. Control O, enter to confirm and exit. No, I don't want to say cut. Let me check if everything is okay. Yes. And also we need to create our folder for data. So mkdir data. And we can start it. So docker compose up-d. Once this is pulling, we need to find the default login credentials for Uptime Kuma. So we go to browser and we can check their GitHub. It should be somewhere. Or I think we don't need. We can just create our user account straight away. But first, we need to set up the SSL. So you navigate to the SSL certificates and copy the IP address. Navigate to your domain registrar. I use Cloudflare. Name will be Uptime. You paste your IP address for the server. Uptime Kuma. You click save. And now you add your SSL, which will be uptime.webnestify.net. You can use DNS challenge, DNS provider Cloudflare. And now you need to get your API token. So you go to the overview. In the right corner is get your API token, and you view your global key, or you can create secure token with DNS. So in this case, I will add the global key. Let me grab it. Okay. So once we have a token, you confirm, and now the SSL will be done in a couple of seconds. So let's just wait a couple of seconds and we can create our proxy host. All right, so now we have our SSL. We navigate to the host, proxy host, add a proxy. Domain name is uptime.webnestify.net. Scheme HTTP. Forward IP hostname, you grab your web server IP or 13.29.159. Forward port is 3001. You want to block common exploits and you need to enable WebSockets. And for the SSL, you grab Uptime Force SSL and you can save. And now we should be able to navigate to our Uptime service. So you just click it. And now you will need to create your administrator account. So username vntoots. Again, create your strong and complicated password. Click create. All right. So now at this point, you successfully installed your Uptime Kuma. And get familiar with it. Go to the settings. You can change your time zone. You can also discourage search engine from indexing the site, it is completely up to you. And basically you can play with the appearance and those kind of things. So now we will add our monitor. So we just click add monitor, and in the monitor type, as you can see, you can be checking websites, TCP ports, you can just do pings, HTTPS keywords. Basically that means it will search keywords in plain HTML, which is really cool. And also you can monitor Steam game servers, databases, Mongo, Redis. It's completely up to you. And also you can be checking DNS propagation. If you have your custom own name servers, you can be checking those. So in this case, we will just add the HTTPS. We go to Google. URL to check will be google.com. Heartbeat interval is by default 60 seconds, which is good. Retries, that means how many maximum retries before you receive notifications. I usually set it up to 5. And heartbeat interval retry to 60, that's fine. And here you can do some status codes. For example, if you don't allow any traffic to your website, only for yourself, you can add code 401 as forbidden, will be accepted. So that's that. So you can do your custom codes, it is up to you. And you can add tags. This name will be public services. You can pick the color and add. And you can click save. And as you can see, Google is up and it's completely fine. And we can add basically anything, so we can monitor the DNS record, which will be Google mail servers. And let me check Google MX records. Google MX records. Actually, I can do here from my account. Maybe I can check here. I really hate Google documentation. Add ML record to a subdomain. Nope. Activate. Never mind. What we can do just we can do TCP ports, or we just do ping mail server, and you can do hostname or what you want to do. It is completely up to you. It is pretty straightforward. So another thing that you can do is to set up your own notifications. And as you can see, there is a lot of notifications, applications that you can use. Discord, email, SMTP. You pick your hostname, your API keys from Postmark or any other service. So play with it, and yeah, you can do. I usually use Telegram because it's instant and it's free. Okay, and another great thing is that you can do the status page. And as you can see, you go to status pages, new status page, and you can name it for public services, for example. Slack will be public. You click next. Always switch to dark theme. You can show the powered by Uptime Kuma, or you can use your own footer text. The webness monitoring service. You can add your Google Analytics ID if you want to track how many times customers are checking their dashboards. Description, monitoring of public services. And now you can add the monitor. For now we have only Google, the one, but you can add everything that you have. So now we can save it. And yeah, you have now your own free status pages that you don't have to pay for anything, and it is running on your server. And if you want to do some notifications for customers, here you can set up the incidents. For example, maintenance scheduled for tomorrow, and you can click post and save. And as we open the new incognito window, actually that does not show here in the recording, so we just go here, and the status page is visible for everyone. So yeah, add every service that you have, set up the notifications, create the status pages for your customers or for yourself. And now we will deploy the Watchtower, which will take care of automatic updates. In the documentation, you can read more about Watchtower. You can check the official GitHub page. And here you see the compose file. And what I recommend to set up is SMTP notification emails. So when the container is updated, you will receive notification. And again, you can fully integrate this with the postmark. So we will copy this. We will move back to the terminal. Navigate further back, cd Watchtower, and we do nano docker compose.yaml. You paste the configuration file and you add your own SMTP details. So once you have your configuration done, you start the container again, docker compose upd, and if everything went all right, you can check your email with the notification. So first let me check if everything is running completely fine. Yes, it is, and now we can check our email. Let me move window to the browser. And as you can see, we receive our notification from Watchtower. Okay guys, so I hope you really like this tutorial. It was due many weeks ago, but finally I have time to do it, so I hope you really enjoy it. You follow the documentation and you will be all right. For the next video, I don't know what will I prepare for you, but I got something special to announce in the coming weeks, so stay awesome, stay tuned to my channel, and thank you very much for your support. Bye bye.